Good evening and welcome to the Talking Sport podcast. It's our first Formula One podcast and I'm delighted to be joined by Daz and Jake. How are we, boys?
Good, thanks, Rick. Just enjoyed a cracking race.
Well, Jake, are you good?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, thank you.
As you can see, I've gone full Max Verstappen. I don't have any Formula One gear, so it's just an Amsterdam hat and an Ajax shirt. But I think that's close enough. It's the same country. Dazzy's got his orange one, and Jake's on a night out by the look of it.
Yeah.
How do you know he supports, Rick?
What's
He
that?
might have just put his biggest rival's football top on. Do you know who he supports?
Jake?
No, Max.
Oh, true, yeah. I don't think. I don't actually know. I'm sure he's from somewhere. He's from Holland. So why would he support PSV or Feyenoord these days? You know. I thought you were on about Jake. I was going to say Jake supports Liverpool.
Oh.
But yes, getting back to Formula One. It was a great race, like you said. A good way to kick off the season. I think everyone was more excited this year with the cars being a bit closer. I'll start with you then, Daz. What did you think about Lewis Hamilton holding on for a Mercedes win?
Class. It was just what everyone wanted to see. That exciting ending. Everyone thought the cars were close, and they are, especially in that track. But that's been historically quite a strong Mercedes track. So it's good that Red Bull are very close to them. And it looked for all the while that Max was going to get him. And obviously he went wide on turn 4, I think it was, and had to give the place back with a few laps to go. And then he seemed to lose a bit of momentum, but I'll give Lewis a lot of credit for that. Like you say, brilliant. Held him off really well the last few laps. I think he's relishing the battle too. So yeah, Lewis did really, really well to hold him off. Max came through well. Battle Royale at the end. Hopefully we get many more of those.
Definitely. Jakey, from the other side of things then, mate. Missed opportunity for Max. He'd be the fastest all weekend, and then when it came down to it, he just couldn't outrace Lewis.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure if it was to do with the again, I think those new, I think it's new rules, isn't it, regarding where you are on the track. I think those are going to be controversial throughout the season, and it's already a big talking point. We're in race 1. I don't know whether it was down to just Verstappen's poor driving, but obviously he wasn't making good use of the DRS zones, especially through turn 3 and 4, and obviously 11, 10 and 11 as well. So a big missed opportunity there for him. Allowed Hamilton to just keep in, with obviously his tyres slowly fading. But yeah, it was a good win for him, and his first win since 2015 on the first race. So one to be proud of for him there.
Definitely. And what do you think, Jake, about him surpassing Michael Schumacher's record? Then he's been ahead for the most laps in Formula One history now.
Yeah, it's very impressive. Again, Michael was a force to be reckoned with when he was racing for Ferrari, and Lewis is exactly the same. I think there'll probably be more records to be broken in the future, and you would expect Lewis to do that. Even with him talking about retirement at some stage. For me, he's way too young for that. So, I think there'll be more to come from him.
Is he keep on proving that maybe one day he'll be considered better than Shuey?
Well, history will tell. If he sticks around and he wins another championship, especially if this year is as close as it seems like it's going to be, if he wins it this year, then he just he keeps arguing his case again and again to be one of the greatest ever, if not the greatest ever. So I think that's what he's relishing. He's relishing the challenge of Max and Red Bull this year. And who knows if he'll carry on after this year. If he does, then how many can he win? Obviously, lots of rule changes next year, but he's definitely making a very good case for himself.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? He keeps on winning. And as much as everyone says, they hated it and they've hated it the last couple of years because of the Mercedes dominance. But yeah, like you said, if he beats Max this year, I just hope that it's not another season like we've had the last couple, maybe not last year, but the two before that, where it was all about Ferrari attacking them, and then after the first few races, they just fell away. So I hope Red Bull can keep the pace with Mercedes, I should say, and keep it up. Disappointing for a few people in the race then, this one. Pierre Gasly, and obviously in qualifying and testing, he's been really quick, them AlphaTauris, but didn't happen for him today, Daz.
No, he made a mistake, didn't he, early on, where there was contact and he lost his front wing and he never recovered. It did look like one of the fastest cars in qualifying and practice. So it is disappointing that he kind of didn't manage to make his way back into the race like, say, for example, Perez did. So I know it's a slower car than the Red Bull, but yeah, he was disappointing. Whether we come on to his teammate in a minute, I don't know. But no, Gasly, he'll be disappointed he didn't manage to get his way. Maybe the car was damaged after the front wing and he wasn't at full tilt. I don't know, but disappointing start to the season for him, yeah.
No, yeah, it was disappointing. Jakey, the Haas boys, I'll come to you about them. That I'm calling him Marzipan because I can't pronounce his name. Okay, but how many times has he spun in Bahrain? He was off in qualifying twice, and now he's gone off in the race, and obviously, which has ended his race, and obviously that the legend's son Mick Schumacher having a tough day as well.
Yeah, quite disappointing since it was his first professional F1 race, I think it was. So I think his name is Mazepin, but that sounds like a paracetamol of some kind, so I don't know. Right either. But yeah, very, very disappointing. I think, well, I wouldn't say funny, but quite interesting that he lost a foot in on turn 3 and span out. Very, very disappointing. And the same for Mick Schumacher, who got it well. I suppose got away with it would be a big one, but you know, he wasn't as impactful as he could have been. Maybe it was just due to the track experience. I'm not really too sure. But I know there's a lot of factors such as wind and dust, sand, and things like that. So maybe that could hinder the driver's performance overall. But you know, with the amount of money that they have, I would expect them to not have those particular issues. But yeah, very disappointing for those two guys. And you know, this is another sort of 22 races to go, so we'll see.
True. I know who Jake's one. I'll get onto him in a bit then, Dazzy. But driver of the day, who was it for you?
Mazza Spin, by the way. You could call him that from now on. Keeps that up. But, driver of the day today. I'll give you a Lewis would be right up there because he held Max off and did a great job with the strategy when he looked like he was going to be up against it. Perez coming back from the field, but the Red Bull, it was one of the best. Is arguably the best car, so he probably should be coming back from the field. I think Norris was good as well, coming fourth, fairly comfortably fourth as well. So he was right up there. And a shout out for Tsunoda as well, the Gasly's teammate. He picked Stroll for 9th right at the end. So it's a tosser, and I'll go with Norris. There you go.
Yeah, good pick. Obviously, like saying 4th place, great drive from him. Jake, Dazzy obviously doesn't know. I know. Who is your driver of the day?
My driver of the day was Tsunoda today. Very, very impressed with the young man making his the youngest driver. I think one of his professional debuts as well in Bahrain. It's not the toughest. It's one of the toughest places to go for racing, as we've seen. But you know, finishing where he did in 10th was amazing. Again, within the points range as well. So great start for him and the team. Very excited to see him in 3 weeks' time. I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. But just the way it wasn't just, you know, his driving, I think his confidence on the track as well was pretty amazing. You know, and even with the way the race started, having an extra formation lap and one or two safety cars, it shows how confident he is, and that's great to see. Because not normally you see even the top drivers, Hamilton, Verstappen like that. They're always on the edge, always a bit anxious. So it's nice to see somebody full of confidence getting right up there and getting the points forward.
Oh yeah, he did have a great drive. You're not wrong. I remember when I was watching the qualifying yesterday, and in Q1 when or Q1 or Q2, I can't remember which one it was, but he flew in at second place with a lap. I thought, bloody hell, unexpected this from AlphaTauri, but they're brilliant again this season. But yeah, for me, it'd be Checo. I know what you're saying with the Red Bull. It is a very fast car, but still, yeah, work his way through the whole pack, and he, 3 pit stops as well to finish there. Just shows what a great driver he is, and just Mr. Consistent anyway. It's not often, unless someone takes him out, that he doesn't score points. So yeah, mine would be Checo for driver of the day. Jake, what did you think of Fernando Alonso? Obviously disappointing in the end, but what did you think of his drive for his first race in 2 years?
Yeah, he was quite impressive, to be fair. I think one of the main things is after 2 years you would have a bit of rust. He'd have a bit of drive rust, and he wasn't like that today. He got himself quite far up the leaderboard, but it was unfortunate that he had a bit of an issue. I think it was a steering issue or something like that. What was that? Sorry, mate.
I thought they said it was something to do with his brakes. They were worried about them, I think.
Yeah, potentially. Sorry, but yeah, it's so, and you can see, in Formula One, how fast your dreams can end with just an issue with your car. It's very, very, and especially the track and the conditions, as I've said, it can cause that as well. So unlucky for him, but again, I think he'll come back in 3 weeks stronger and more knowledgeable of the next track, I expect. And hopefully he'll push with his new team for maybe a podium in 3 weeks. Who knows? It'll be a good story anyway, I think.
Obviously, the elder statesman doing the job. Obviously, Lewis winning, and Kimi having another good drive, and obviously Fernando was going well until he went.
Yeah. I think, Fernando was definitely outperforming Ocon up until the point when he went out, but he was starting to drop. I don't know if that was to do with his issue, but he was right in there in the mix with the Ferraris and the Maccas. He was right there, so he did really well. And Kimi, he just stuck from nowhere, and I think he got a point at the end. It was, or he was close. He may have finished 11th, but he was right up there. He did okay, and Hamilton, like you say, brilliant. And Vettel, I suppose you can't really. He's not quite at their age, but he didn't have a very good race, unfortunately for him. But Lewis is still leading the charge.
No, Seb got 5 points on his license this weekend. It's ridiculous. Unbelievable. 3 points for qualifying, and then another 2 for taking out Ocon in this race. It's not been a great first race for him, and Aston Martin. Sorry, strange one. But Alonso, I bet he's having deja vu, because obviously he left a McLaren team with a lot of problems, and now he's come straight in his first race and he's had to retire. So going to be interesting to see where he goes on. Why is there a 3-week gap anyway, Jake? What's with this? Last year we had races two every week. Why is there a 3-week gap now till is it Italy?
I don't know. It could be something to do with COVID arrangements, maybe making the track and everything else COVID safe. Discussing the final sort of venue options, and in regards to whether they have fans or not, probably not at this point, because there's apparently a new variant in other countries at the moment. So maybe they're just keeping an eye on that at the moment until the last minute. But very strange that decision, considering after Italy, the races are they're very close indeed to each other every week, every other week. So I think that's probably what it's to do with, but I think it probably would. I'm just hoping that the race doesn't lose its momentum, because 3 weeks is quite a long time. to just, I know they practice at home and the mentality and everything else, but again, it's like another break. It'll feel like another break. So, they have to. It gives them a long time to focus and practice and things. So hopefully, these guys that haven't come through properly, like Vettel, like Stroll, like Sonoda, sorry, and Verstappen get practice in now, and hopefully in 3 weeks' time we'll have an even closer race than we did today. So hopefully it's for the benefit, not the despair, I suppose.
I think it's actually Portugal. I think I got it wrong. I think it's Portugal next. But yeah, I know sometimes there's 2 week gaps. And I know over the summer when they have their break, it's sometimes a bit longer. But I just thought a bit weird after the first race. But maybe that's to do with, the travel, like you say, and everything coming back into Europe. But we'll have to see. Next week then, obviously next week, sorry, 3 weeks time. What are we expecting, Daz? Are we expecting the same kind of battle, or is there any teams you think, like Jake said, will have enough time to do a bit more testing and push the car up the field?
Yeah, I can't remember what teams were best at Portugal last year, but I would expect it to be roughly the same with Red Bull and Mercedes being the class of the field. Hopefully you get a close battle between those two teams, and with the others, the midfield, all very close behind, all pushing each other. And I think what you'll find is over the next some races, McLaren will be the best of the rest. Some races, it might even be Ferrari. They look pretty strong. AlphaTauri are in the mix. Maybe some races, Alpine and Aston Martin as well. So that midfield, I think, is so close that it could mix about quite a lot between races. But I still expect Red Bull and the Mercedes to be the class of the field. It's just good that Red Bull have closed the gap. So it's nice and close by the look of it.
Definitely. For a word as well, obviously, as our first Formula One podcast, and it's a couple of weeks now, but Murray Walker passing Dazzy. We talked a bit about it when we seen each other the other week, but sad that the voice of F1 has left us.
It is, but I think it should be more a celebration of his life myself, because he lived till 97. He had an absolutely brilliant life, did everything he wanted to do. Like you say, he was the voice of Formula One, world-renowned, respected up and down the paddock. What an absolute legend, and everyone will miss him. But all those memories he created with those absolute classic lines, And I didn't even realise he was an advertising executive as well. He came up with some of the really good advertising slogans, a miles a day and things like that, So, the guy was a legend, but focusing on F1, absolute legend. Yeah, he will go down in history, no doubt. And some of his one-liners will also go down in history.
Jake, think the same, mate? Sad to see him go, but a celebration of his time in F1.
Yeah, very, very, very sad moment. And unfortunately, I'm probably I suppose I'm too young to remember certain things. But obviously he's a great guy, and as you said, he was the voice of Formula One. Not necessarily a commentator, but very much behind the scenes. But it's so sad that we lost, some great Formula One legends, especially with him racing back in the day, and once again some of those fantastic wins, which you can watch anywhere these days if you have the interwebs. But yeah, I think it was a nice tribute on the F1 channel and on Sky as well to see to see him praised. But yeah, celebration of his life is definitely needed, especially when a lot of the focus is on this pandemic at the moment. So yeah, I think definitely a celebration of his life is needed.
I just thought as well, though, my favourite bit of that whole race was the battle quite early on between Sainz, Vettel and Alonso, where they just kept on interchanging, fighting, and I thought that's brilliant. That's two of the legends of the sport, and then the up and comer, obviously, with the famous dad. But yeah, that was great. What about you boys? Is there anything that you picked out from the race that we haven't covered that you'd like to talk about?
From my perspective, Valtteri was disappointing again. I think this is probably his last season at Mercedes. If he keeps this up, he's not consistently not being on Lewis's level. He can do it, but sometimes, but not consistently enough. And I think the George Russell thing last year embarrassed him a little bit. So I think he's disappointed. He's really got up his game. Other than that, it's the Ferrari. It's good to see them looking strong. I think with Red Bull as well, the Honda engine, they've really picked up. I mean, that's something that people haven't really spoke about. The Honda, considering it's the last year in the sport, they've done a really good job with our engine. It looks like they're not really losing much to Mercedes power-wise now, when they used to be losing quite a bit. They'd be the main things I'd pick up on, I think.
You, Jakey?
Nothing particular to be honest. I think a lot of the guys had great races, and I think Vettel would be extremely disappointed today with how he's performed, especially in a new team in front of probably some keen leaders hoping to get up that table. Obviously, it's nice to see Mercedes at the top. Of course, quite a bit of a gap there. But obviously, we are again in the first race, so we will see that change. I think just maybe an early prediction from me as how the F1 season will end. I know we're only in the first race, but I'm probably going to predict that Red Bull Honda Racing will win the Drivers' Championship. I just have full confidence in Verstappen to pick themselves up and win it. But again, as they say in the trade, anything can happen. So we'll be looking forward to the next race with great interest. But nothing else from me. I don't think at the moment if I have anything else.
Yeah, Daz, do you agree that with Jake that it's Red Bulls to lose, or too early to tell?
I wouldn't quite go as far as Red Bulls to lose, but but it looks like they're a lot closer to Mercedes. It looks really exciting for the season. That it's going to be a proper battle between the two teams. I'm hoping that Perez can get in the mix quite a few times as well. Maybe get a couple of wins himself. Hard to beat Max on this day. I do agree with Jake though that Max is absolute class, and he will have a very good chance of winning the title if it proves that the Red Bull is a match for Mercedes on a number of different tracks, and the early signs are very good.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's going to be good. Obviously, we don't expect Checo to probably outscore Bottas, so that'll be something to look at. But yeah, fantastic start to the season. Lots to go forward on. Of course, a lot more races, a lot more driving, but a great start. Okay. Well, I think that is our first episode there, lads, for the Formula One podcast. As always, thank you guys for joining me. Cheers, Daz, for joining us, and Jakey, as always, as part of the podcast. And yeah, next time, one of you boys obviously will be hosting it. You've got 2.5 weeks to train, write down notes, and talk to yourself in a mirror, of course. But yes, cheers, guys. Follow the podcast as usual on our Talking Sport Podcast Wales channel on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe as well as liking and commenting on our page. But until next time, boys, we'll see you after the Portuguese weekend.
Cheers, both. Good to see you.
See ya.